Hello and welcome to Toolbox Talks on the Site Shed, and today we have a Q&A. If you have a question that you'd like us to answer, then head across to thesiteshed.com where you can leave a written or an audio question. Just if you want to skip the queue, quick heads up, we do reward loyalty. So if you've left us an iTunes review, then we do get to those ones first. Anyway, let's dive right in.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
A quick shout out to Mike from Cornerstone Landscapes, who just left us an amazing review. He said, I just found your podcast and have since listened to every one of your episodes. There isn't enough peer recognition in our industry, so I just wanted to drop you a line to let you know how bloody good your product is. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and network with all of us. Mike, it is an absolute pleasure. And to say thank you for that review, we have actually created a podcast for a question that you just asked us. At one stage or another, I would say that the majority of us business owners go through some sort of guilt. For me, I know if I walk down to the beach and I want to go for a surf, I battle with myself saying, no, you've got work to do. You should be at home doing this work. Why do I feel guilty about wanting to go for a surf? What is it with that mindset? In today's podcast, we've been sent in a question from Mike from Cornerstone Landscapes, and he had a really cool question in relation to, I suppose, work-life balance and then how to manage guilt around business and lifestyle. So stay tuned. Joining us on this podcast today is Matt from Cube Consulting. He is a mindset guru, as you may or may not have heard him back in episodes, 18, 19, and 20. So anyway, enjoy this podcast. And if you do like it, go back and check out episode 18, 19, and 20. It's a cracker. Hello and welcome back to Toolbox Talks. My name is Matt Jones, and you are joining us today in episode 70. And we're talking about an issue that a lot of us deal with in our businesses. I've actually just received an email from Mike, and he says, Matt, I'm struggling a bit with finding a reasonable work/life balance. I love working on the business. I love spending time with my family, but I usually feel guilty when I'm doing one and not the other. Now, I know this is a problem that I've dealt with myself, and I know there's a lot of problem that a lot of people deal with, to the fact that it's kind of a testament, I suppose, to the Ski and Learn program that we've just put together, because that basically was designed to help people that were feeling a little bit guilty about taking time for themselves. We're trying to find a way that they can feel less guilty about that. So it's kind of ironic that Mike's sent this email in. But thank you, Mike. I much appreciate it. And Mike also left an amazing review on iTunes, which you would have just heard in the introduction there. But look, to help answer that question, obviously I am not the mindset expert, but I've invited Matt, the other Matt Jones from Cube Consulting, back on the show. You may remember Matt from back in episodes, 17, 18 and 19, I believe. Nope, 18, 19 and 20. And Matt came on to talk about various topics. By all means, go back and check them out because they are fantastic. And one of them was specifically talking about mindset. But Matt, just want to welcome you back to the microphone. Thank you for joining us.
Cheers, Matt. Thank you.
So yeah, look, Mike's I suppose facing a problem that many of us, if not all of us, face in our businesses. Yep. in the space of trying to balance his work life and his family life, etc. I suppose that's one part of the equation here that I pulled out of it, and I think maybe a lot of that might come down to maybe some time management, some project management, and maybe prioritizing. But then the other part of the equation there, I think, is that whole, dealing with guilt. And that's kind of the big thing I'd like to address here. But we might just start with, I suppose, that initial struggle. How do your experience, you obviously deal with a lot of businesses around the place on a consulting level, and I'm sure that's an issue that you see a lot of: time management, poor project management, job management, that kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. And it is a common question about how can I get that work-life balance. And I think, just to frame it accordingly, there is really, when you really think about it, there is no such thing as a work-life balance as such. If you're either into work, then you're out of balance with your home life, or you're in a home life and you're out of balance with the work life. So it's one or the other, and it does come down to, as you mentioned, about time management and how you need to prioritise your time. So how we try and deal with a lot of organisations and business leaders is trying to chunk things down into what we call time blocking and make sure that, hey, I'm working today. I'm working up until 4 o'clock. Once 4 o'clock comes, I am done. And it's basically like changing hats. And it's a bit like then when you finish work and before you then you walk in the front door, take a bit of a breath, recenter yourself and understand that I'm coming into the home life. Because what we find now, especially with computers, everyone working online, a lot of people working at home, there's actually no separation between work and home.
Right.
And that's one of the key detriments where everyone's in that same cycle. So, and it's one thing people need to realise is in what we call it's a lot of people are actually physically at home. They might be at home with their family. They might be pushing their kids on the swing, but they're actually not home in the mind. They're not present in the mind. So they might be pushing their kids on the swing. They might even be going for a walk with the kids. And in the back of their mind, they're thinking about, I've got to put that quote in. I've got to follow up someone. I've got to get that email done. So there's actually no switch off. So the best way that we work, and this is obviously we practice what we preach, is that up to 4 o'clock, I'm in work mode. I've got to get as much done as I can in that time, and then I'm done. And then I've got to then basically mentally just have that bit of a disconnect and then reconnect. Okay, I'm at the home here, and I've got to keep away from the phones. I've got to keep away from trying to grab my phone and have a look at emails and things like that. So it's trying to really process it that no, this is home and this is work.
Do you, Matt, when I got this email this morning, I sort of went to the whiteboard and started drawing out a few things, and I suppose I was trying to ascertain, what differentiates the difference between, my work life and my home life. Is that something that you typically try to help people address? What areas in your business are taking up a lot of your time, and how can you kind of remove yourself from that position by either putting someone on or outsourcing it, or maybe, obviously there's things that need to get done in your business. Are there ways that you can free yourself up from that, and by sort of outsourcing it?
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things from that point of view, if we're talking about trying to build a business that's actually scalable, that doesn't rely on you 24/7, it's actually having a look at your systems and processes and trying to get some automation in there.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing now. Online in the cloud, there's so many good systems that can automate things. And ultimately, how we frame them with organisations, with clients, if you're doing a manual thing that continually pops up day after day, or you keep answering that same question day after day, or you're always putting an invoice in, or you're reconciling accounts day after day, these manual tasks can be automated very easily now. Mm-hmm. There are ways of doing things online. You don't need a physical body in the office to help you with that. So it's all about, yes, how can I free up my time from this manual, mundane stuff that does suck up a lot of my time, a lot of my mental energy? How do I get rid of that so I can then, as a business owner, focus on the big strategic issues as well to ensure that, hey, I am growing the business. I am actually, making sure that my time, is valuable. And that's one of the key things that separates the successful people from the people that really, have really built a job for themselves. And when we talk about building a job for themselves, it means that they just can't get away from the job. Or once they step away from the job stops. Yeah. So a lot of people think they're building a business, but all they've done is created a job. The successful people really understand that the most valuable thing that they've got is time.
Yeah.
And they're very precious with their time. We see it too much where business owners are too happy to give their time to whether it be potential customers or other team members or other opportunities that really are not in their sweet spot. It's not really going to help them grow their business.
Yeah.
So they waste a lot of time. So how we frame it comes back to ultimately, and what we sort of spoke about previously, especially around the brand, is that, where do you want to build that brand? Who are those key people that you need to be talking to? And then what we talk about, with organisations, keeping it very simple. If we're going to be blue, we're all about being blue. Then if someone green comes across us or wants to have a meeting with us, no, we say, no, we're blue. So it's all about having the confidence and understand that, this is not good for us. We don't need to do this. Someone else needs to look after that. I'm not going to waste my time on that.
Yeah. I mean, I know it might be a good starting point, for any listener out there really, to sort of sit down and, I sort of went and did this myself, split up, two columns, work and life, and then what sort of fills into those two columns. You've got your work. In your work life, it's often things like invoicing, quoting, obviously out on projects, or, marketing, lead nurturing, creating strategies, networking, that kind of stuff. There's lists of things that are there. I suppose if you can put like an order of priority in place there, you don't necessarily have to neglect any of them. But if you can sort of prioritize or allocate certain time periods throughout your week or throughout your given month, whatever it is, to applying some sort of time to those certain areas, then there's no reason why they can't get done. And if you find that, I suppose, if they're not getting done properly, then maybe it is something that you can outsource, or if you can get somebody to help you do it a little bit more efficiently, help you focus on other things. So, maybe in your family, and it's the same in your family life. If you look at your personal life, really, you've got, health, you've got family, you've got friends, you may have, faith, religion, whatever it is, but all these things make up your life. You've got to find time to do them. You can't really compromise on the majority of those things. You can't compromise on your health for the sake of something else. if your health isn't right, then nothing else is going to be right. So, you got to make sure that you're looking after yourself primarily. And of course, if you've got family, then you've got to make sure that you're allocating the right time for that. It might mean maybe you want to drop the kids off a couple of days a week at school. Then, how can you find somebody to replace you from that time of day so that you can go and do that? And if you're running a business, that should be at the forefront of your mind.
No, that's right. And this is where it comes back to we get the process of time blocking your calendar. We get business owners to put time blocks in their calendar. So you start with the annual year, and the first thing you actually put in there in the calendar is when's your family holiday going to be? That's the first thing that goes into your calendar.
Yeah.
2 weeks here, 4 weeks here, whatever. That is locked in.
Yeah.
And then you break that down to monthly and then weekly, because ultimately, if I know I've got certain times during the week to get things done, I'm going to be more productive.
Yeah.
So if I know that on Wednesday mornings and Friday mornings I've got to do the kids drop off and pick up, not that I've got to do it, I want to do it, then that makes me the day before ensure that I'm planned correct, that I've got everything done, I've communicated what needs to happen, so that come the morning I'm not rushing around and answering calls and because people didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
So what we try and do is you force people in very clearly, this 2 hours you've got to get this done.
Yeah.
So if you want to get this done and don't be interrupted, then it forces you to prepare appropriately so you're actually uninterrupted and you can invest your time accordingly in that time period that you're blocking out.
And so, Matt, when you're going through that process, do you do a similar thing? Like, do you sit down and try to ascertain what they need to be spending their time with, like what they need to be getting done, and then is that how it works?
Well, what we do is we've got a program where we call a productivity tracker.
Yeah.
So we actually break the individual down. We get them to in 15-minute increments. What they've done over a course of a month. Whether it be just travel, whether it be actually a sales call, whether it be invoicing, admin, whether it's actually doing the job. So we get actually a breakdown over the course of a 4-week period, seeing actually how many hours are actually being invested and exactly then in terms of where their time is going during the day.
Mm-hmm.
Then, like what you say, then we then look at the time and say, look, what are these areas you spent, as an example, you're spending 20% of your time on admin that can be outsourced at a very cheap rate.
Yeah.
So that is not a high payoff activity. So we look at things in terms of, what's a high payoff activity? That is not a high payoff activity. And then we talk about things which, what is your important task that you must do today? Like the thing with a lot of people, yes, things are urgent, you need to get back to a call, but what are the sort of the key things that are really important that you need to get done during the course of that day? They've got to be blocked in, that you're the only ones that can do that. So they're the first thing that goes into your calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And we try and break it down that, you're working from 9, whatever it is, let's just say 8 to 4, that's your working hours and that's it. Clock on at 8, finish at 4. It's got to fit within those hours. And if it doesn't fit within those hours, then some of those, again, those low payoff activities can be automated. How do we get someone to actually do that?
Yeah.
Because if you're doing them all, then you've really built a job for yourself.
I know one of the problems that I see people struggling with a lot is that whole, okay, you go to work for 8 hours and you come home and then you get in the office and you start doing all the paperwork. Now, you and I know there's a lot of solutions out there that can free people up from those sort of things, from a cloud point of view. Mike's a landscape gardener, and I'm guessing he may experience some of those problems where, he, like things like quoting jobs and, having to spend time in the office to quote jobs. And I don't know, Mike, if you are listening and you checked out the previous podcast we just did on charging for quotes, and Adrian from Train to Sell and I came up with a way that you can actually turn, that the time that you would invest into training into creating a proposal, you can turn it into a chargeable product. And these are all little things, I suppose, that it kind of relates to what you're saying, Matt. How do you take, I suppose, things of importance and how do you give them more value? You know what I mean? So obviously you need to be out, you need to be quoting work, but do you need to be doing it for nothing? Well, not really. It just depends on how you sell it.
Well, the big thing is, and this is where most tradies their problem lies with, they think they need to be busy. Okay, and that's the first step that they're wrong. People think that unless I'm busy, then I'm not getting ahead. Right. Unfortunately, for most of them, they're always busy, and so they're saying yes to everything. The best way that we get our business owners so that they're freeing up their time, they've got their family life back, that they're sleeping nice and easy, peace of mind, is actually by starting to say no. So whether you're a landscape gardener or a builder or a plumber, you want to just be saying yes to those ideal clients that you want to build your brand around, that you want to be the experts in. Mm-hmm. A lot of trade business owners feel that they need to say yes to everything, that they've got to try and appease everyone and please everyone.
Yeah.
The first person you've got to please is you, the business owner. And the best way, this is the whole thing about systemizing, because a lot of times if one day you're doing commercial work, next day you're doing residential work, one day then you're doing maintenance work, next day you're doing new work, all those things require different systems, different quoting, different skill sets, different tools and equipment, different specifications. If you're not doing it day in, day out, excuse me, you're going to waste time. It's going to kill your time. So we're all about the best way to get your time back is to say, no, I am blue. I'm geared up for blue. My quotes are geared up for blue. I do it quicker than anyone else. I get the job started quicker than anyone else. I get the job done quicker than anyone else. I invoice quick, I get paid quicker than anyone else.
Yeah.
And because I've done it so quick, I've wowed them. I'm going to get more of those blue type customers going to come knocking on the door. They just say, you just get it.
Yeah.
You've answered all my problems before I even knew that I had to say it, because we're blue.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as a trader, you think you're trying to be all things to all people. Mm-hmm. And that sucks up your time.
Yeah.
And, one of the very successful people say some of the best things you can say is no to a great opportunity. Yes, that's a great opportunity. But unfortunately, that's green. I am blue.
Yeah.
And that comes down to that confidence. And by doing that straight away, that then you can very clearly prioritise. No, it's not important. No, this is my go. I'm going to put a lot of effort in. We'll talk about that A game. I'm going to bring my A game into doing this quote because it's blue and this is the type of client that, you know what, I can wow them and I can really help them.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. Well, look, let's move along to, I suppose, the second part of this question, which is, how he's saying, I love working on my business. I love spending time with my family, but I usually feel guilty when I'm doing one and not the other. Now, okay, is this what we're talking? Is this mindset? Are we talking about mindset right now?
Well, it's mindset, and it's also though that coming down to the planning, because I think it sounds like with Mike, he's probably in that bit of that doesn't know when to switch off or switch on. He's not sure what hat he's wearing at any one time.
Well, I mean, I know myself, for example. Like sometimes, I might want to walk. I might want to go for a surf in the morning, but I'll be like, no, you know what? I got so many things I need to get done. I should really do these things, and I feel guilty about wanting to go for a surf.
But that's the key thing, though. Like you were sort of talking about time blocking. That for you to be productive, and for anyone to be productive, they need to have that off switch. They need to have that, where they can re-energise and whether it be surfing, whether it be running, whether it be taking the kids for a walk or whatever it is, people need to switch off. And this is the thing I'm sort of saying is that, my time is mine up until 9 o'clock. I'm doing what I want to do up till 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock I switch on. After 4 o'clock I'm with the kids. So I think the key thing and this is again another thing from a trade perspective as well, because a lot of, most tradies work hard. They work really hard. And I know when I was on the tours and ran my plumbing business for 7 years, I worked goddamn hard. Sometimes it was at 7 days a week, and I thought I had to do more. But ultimately, you do wear down. You're not sharpening the saw. You're not getting good at what you do. You're just rolling through. You're plodding through. So, the best thing Matt, is it for you to be sharp and fresh and be good at home and also at work is to go for that surf. Mm. Get connected with the water, correct? Get connected with the ocean and re-energise.
Yeah.
Because as a business owner, you are, depositing a lot. You're investing a lot, and you need to get a lot back. Otherwise, you will become frustrated, and you will every day will just be like a Groundhog Day.
I firmly believe one of the most productive things you can do in your business is get away from it.
You've got to. That's the thing. You've got to switch off. You can't just. This is the thing. There's nothing worse than I hear people saying, "I'm just laying in bed at night thinking about work. I wake up. I'm at 4 o'clock." We did a training session yesterday in Canberra, and one of the guys said he used to get up at at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he'd be starting to write notes down at 4 o'clock in the morning about work.
Yeah.
Hasn't had a holiday for 6 years.
Yeah.
come on, that is not what we're in business for.
No.
We are, number one thing in business is that business is there to facilitate lifestyle. That's what it's there for. Okay? We don't go into business to suck our life, suck our energy. So we've got to be smarter at how we do things, and we've got to have an on-off switch. We've got to walk away. We've got to re-energize. Anyone at sport level, like, you cannot just keep training. And, we're fortunate enough to do a lot in that sports space. Anyone who just keeps training, their performance goes down quite rapidly.
Yeah.
And they will stagnate. And that's a key thing. That's why it's important. That's why we say to people at the start of the year, time block out. When are you going to go have your holidays? When are you going to get away? You've got to get away, refresh. And then during the week, you've also then got to have timeouts when you've got to be able to go, you know what, I'm done for work. Because as you know, you can always get it done tomorrow.
Exactly. I mean, I think one of the things that I've stopped doing, and I don't know if listeners can resonate to this, I mean, I was, as you actually mentioned or alluded to before, you're never really out of the office these days. I mean, all your emails are on your phones, and, you've always got your phone on you and diverted towards you, and, you're always sort of on call effectively. But I don't answer emails now after a certain time. Like after 5 o'clock, there's no more emails, phone calls. I don't answer work calls. Like this is something I've chosen to do. I go to the gym, I go train, or we go out for dinner, or we do whatever we do. But then, that can wait till the next day. Obviously, if it's a technical emergency, then that goes through our technical team, and they look after that on call. But I mean, that's that's very rare that would ever happen. And when it does, that's sort of taken care of. But yeah, I mean, I would maybe Mike, he might be in a position like that where he's always on his phone, he's always checking emails, he's sending proposals, he's doing all of this stuff. When he gets home from work, sitting on the couch when he could be playing with the kids, or whatever it is. So maybe that's a bit of a paradigm that he may need to address.
Yeah, no, definitely. And look, one of the things is that mindset too, is that time to actually spend time away from the job site. And, because a lot, again, the trading mindset where you're thinking, look, if I'm not on the job, I'm not making money.
Right.
Where the best thing you can do is invest time in the office, working on the business, making sure you're steering a ship, making sure you're putting effort in those proposals. Because as you know, and I've seen it time and time again, people try to rush a proposal late at night or last minute. There's generally a lot of mistakes in that.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you then, from that point of view, is working on those areas of the business that are important at the time of when you need them, as opposed to being, oh, look, I'm going to do it later at night, when, again, that should be family time.
So I suppose just getting to the end, and we'll wrap this up now, but I'd just like to maybe ask you, do you have any action steps or priority steps that you might suggest to Mike?
Well, the first priority step is, from a business point of view, is who's your ideal customer? Okay, so they're the ones that, so the type of client that, you want to build a relationship for the next 20, 30, 40 years. So they're your top of your list. So they're the type of clients that you want to be making sure that you're prioritising the time for.
Mm-hmm.
Other clients that keep you busy, they're the ones you've got to sort of start, pushing aside, because you can't be all things to all people. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is then what you're alluding to is that you actually clearly articulate how you want to operate. So in other words, like you're saying, hey, I will answer the phone between 8 and 4. Between 8 and 4, I will get things done. Don't call me before 8, don't call me after 4. Unfortunately, people may say that, but then guess what they do? They answer the phone before 8 and they'll still answer the call at 9 o'clock at night. So you're a product by design. You're actually telling people still, because you're answering the phone, oh, he'll still answer at night.
Yeah, that's right.
Be very clear, that number two, be very clear that this is how I operate. This is how I want to operate. I'm in control of the business. I'm choosing to do business with you, and this is how we roll. I'm not going to answer any other time.
Yeah.
I'll get to you at 8. Okay. So then you've got to then stick to that. Like you say, don't respond to emails, don't answer calls, because you do train people then. So that's the key thing. And then the third thing is that based on that, then just work on an annual plan. Start with an annual plan. What are the priorities from a personal point of view? Again, holidays are big. Long weekends, block them in, okay, well in advance. So that's time blocked out. And then break it down to a monthly. What are the key things I've got to do each month or each week, which is, again, would be family things, and block that in so that's time. So, because this is what so many people do. People think, oh, look, I've got 24 hours a day, I've got 7 days a week, so I'll get it done later. And they procrastinate. Whereas if I've only got 30 hours or 20 hours of working time this week, then I've got to get my shit done.
Yeah.
I'm not going to procrastinate, correct?
Yeah.
So
I like it.
Time blocking your calendar so you've only got limited time that'll make you bring your A game. it'll make you prioritise. I can't do that shit. I've got to get this done today.
Yeah.
This is my priority stuff. So limit the time. That's not about, remember, in life, it's not about quantity. It's all about the quality. And that's what successful people do. They time block, they prioritise, and they get a lot of shit done. It's not quality shit, that is, in a small amount of time.
Yeah. I think the obvious objection is going to be, well, I mean, for a lot of these guys that are out there on the site all the time, one of the obvious objections I can see is, well, I need to be out there on site doing the work. I need to be on site, all the time. And then I also need to be doing the paperwork. And I would probably say in that scenario that it's probably, if that is the case, you probably answered your own question in the sense that you need to find a way to replace yourself while you're on site. So if it means putting on somebody who can, manage the job until you get there, or, giving you that couple of hours in the morning so you can do other things, then that's your answer.
That's right. The simple thing is for this, the simplest way, like we've got a number of organisations we use that are online that can do all your bookkeeping for you. So all your invoices can get pushed to someone and they can enter it into your accounting system. They can do all the reconciliation for you in the background. For you as a business owner, if you've got 1 or 2, 3 guys, then you've got an iPad and you're fully, because you're systemised for that type of work, you should be able to quote really quickly. But again, when you're on site, you should be doing your work, your job card. You should be invoicing on site. You should be taking payment on site.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no reason and no excuse for not to be on time doing things on time when you're on site.
Yeah. I suppose
get it done on there.
I suppose the caveat to that would be people that do, work for, say, builders or real estate or whatever, where you can't actually invoice on time. But I know what you're saying. You should be doing all the paperwork on time.
Yeah, but you should be able to still work. If I've got 3 guys on site and I've just finished the stage, let's say I'm a plumber, I've just done the underslab.
Yeah.
I'm on site right then and there. I've got all my paper. I should be able to invoice that stage before I leave the job.
Yeah.
I've got all my work, all my job cards are in there because I've got great systems. Everything, every day's tracked. It's already into the system. All I've got to do is basically press send.
Yeah.
That's what people do. Because ultimately, you want to leave that job site. You don't want to think about having to put that quote together. And this is the whole thing most people struggle with. Because it's all paper-based, they're trying to reinvent the wheel every time. It's like, I've got to put that quote in. I've got to get that invoice in.
Right.
It should be simple. And it comes back to what we were talking about before in terms of, hey, I want to invoice a client when I'm on the job when the clock is ticking on their time, correct?
Yep.
Rather than, no, what I'll do is I won't invoice the job now and do all the paperwork while I'm on. So I'm going to take it all home with me on my time that potentially I can't charge back to the customer.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it all comes down to that mind. So it's at the start, it's all mindset because it's how you think about things. It's how you think about your business. Do you think of your business as a business that should be scalable and operate and help assist you? Or is it just a job that, you know what, I feel as a business owner, I need to be on top of everything and I've got to do everything myself. If you think of it as a business, then you're going to think systems, you're going to think automation, you're going to think how can I get rid of these unproductive or low-level tasks that other people can do. Once you start thinking that way, then you'll seek opportunities and other different activities that will change your results ultimately.
Beautiful. Mate, I'm loving it. I think that's a wrap. What do you reckon?
I think it's good. Just got to think differently. Let's rip in and let's be successful in business.
Go get them, Mike. You're on the right path. Matt, thanks for your time. Once again, much appreciated. And that's a wrap for this episode.
Cheers, mate.
See you, buddy.
Good stuff.
Thanks for listening, folks. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Just before we go, if you are one of those people that we were talking to in that episode who does have guilt, or you are dealing with, that mindset of, oh man, I can't possibly justify spending time on myself as it's taking me away from my business, head across to thesiteshed.com/events and check out the Learn and Ski program that we're putting together. It's happening next month. There's a few seats left, and we're going to have to close it down pretty soon. We've put that program together so that you can justify to yourselves taking some time out. It's basically a guilt-free, tax-deductible business trip, and you get to go skiing. So if that appeals to you, go check it out. Thank you for listening to another episode of Toolbox Talks. If you're liking what you hear, then you can head across to thesiteshed.com where you can join our community by signing up to our Toolbox Talks. You'll get sent a weekly notification, which is basically a highlight of everything that we've spoken about during that week, along with any other industry news that may be relevant or specific to the trades. If you're enjoying the show, you can head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, where you can leave us a review. That would be fantastic, and all the reviews get read out in the show. Likewise, if you have any friends or colleagues that you think would benefit from this show and the episodes that we create, then please go ahead and share it with them.